Hi, guys. Welcome. I'm Heather Mitz. This is Angela Hucles.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen.
How are you guys doing? Good. Now your bellies are all full, no excuses, all right? We're ready for our last breakout session. We're talking about leadership today, and we have a fun game for you guys to play. Ange can explain it.
And before we start, can you all hear me okay? Is this all right? No?
Can you hear me okay?
Maybe I just need to talk more into the mic. Is that better? Can I just get an understanding of where we are all from? I know I've met a few of you already, but in terms of schools, where you're from, East Coast, is everyone from East Coast here? Yeah? Anyone not from the East Coast? Where are you from? All right, California.
Cali. What about you?
California.
Nice.
Bi-coastal, great. Anyone else not East Coast based? Yes. Where?
London.
Wow. All right.
Welcome.
You get the award. All right, fantastic. Well, Heather and I are very excited. We are longtime friends. We prefer playing on the same team versus opponents, especially being a midfielder forward to her feisty defensive play. So we've teamed up in a lot of ways, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But we're athletes. We're at a sports leadership summit, right? So we need to go ahead and play a game. So we are going to start with the human knot. What we're going to do is break out into groups of about 5 or 6 people each. What you're going to do is go ahead and do that in just a moment. Once you get into the circle, you're going to put your right hand in, find someone else, shake their hand, introduce yourselves. Do not let go of that right hand. Then take your left hand, going ahead, shaking someone else's left hand, introduce yourself. Do not let go. Everyone will do that in your circle, and then we are going to have you all untangle that human knot. So the instructions are up there if you have any other questions, but if you, for some reason, become untangled and let go of a hand, you must start over the entire process. Right hand, left hand. Do we have any questions about that? All right, so really quickly, we're going to get into teams of 5 or 6. Ready, set, go.
We're getting to know one another really quickly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You guys, we'll see if we have extras.
Space in the aisle here, also on the side and up front.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Get a little space, groups of 5 or 6.
And then we'll see if we can grab one more person for your group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need one more. Are you guys going to do this?
Hey, we'll go do this. Of course we're going to do this.
Okay.
You want us to?
Okay. Well, we need one more over here. They need one. Okay. Oh, you have one? Okay.
We need one more
We
here,
need more.
4 or
Mike, over
5.
here. Rob and Mike,
One.
separating you two.
There's another one here.
Right here, right here, right here. They have, oh, you guys have 4 too.
You need 2 more?
Oh, Rob,
Then
right here.
just split yourselves up and get into another group.
Guys, this is Rob.
Just join into one of
The
the
ladies.
one right there,
Introduce
right there, and right
yourselves.
here.
We're going to get to know each other
Jump
really
on in.
quickly here. So, this is Michael, by the way. All
Go
right.
ahead, just
So,
insert yourself. Jump in there.
right hand, right? Person across from you. And then left hand. Someone else's hand is. Oh, introduce, sorry. So I guess it doesn't, yeah. Are you guys already breaking rules?
We got one group finished, untangled.
It's going to have to be one. You have to untangle.
Feel free to try it
and don't let go.
Another group.
Already?
All right.
Already untangled?
3 groups have detangled. Oh, getting there, getting there. How's it looking over here? Uh-oh, don't come disconnected. I always have to start over.
We're just going to blame it on
You guys
Michael
are really
anyway.
getting to know each other over here. All right.
Okay, if you leave me to figure out a knot, we're in deep trouble.
Hey,
But luckily, there are a lot smarter people.
if you figured it out and you want to try one more time, there's time for another human knot attempt.
We'll see if you can perfect it. Guys, that was way too easy.
Oh, nice.
Let's do it again. Mix it up.
Congrats, you did it. If you're finished, try one more time. Do the human knot game one more time.
You guys are really smart.
See if
So
you
do
can
wanna
actually
switch
beat
it
your
up and then
initial
try it
time.
again? Okay. Do it one more time? Okay. Try it one more time. Yeah. Oh. Well, it hasn't been very long. I know that. You're thinking this is going to be like 15 minutes.
Oh, nice. Look at you. One more time. You guys finished quickly.
Oh, look at these guys.
Right there. Okay. Please be careful if you're standing on chairs. Awesome.
All right. They were pretty quick.
They're still going. Guys, improvement. Amazing. Amazing.
I just think that you guys are all friends and you know each other so
No,
well.
we're not. We just met. Here, John, go prove it.
Is this your second attempt? All right, keep going. Keep going. You can grab your seats. Grab your seats.
Already got it? All right.
Sit down.
All right, you guys are legit.
Chair standing, it's dangerous liability. Getting it done. Getting it done.
What was the top?
This one's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, they're challenging themselves.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait, we messed up.
Go through. We did our mess up.
How bendable are you? See, I'm not very flexible, so I wouldn't be able to do that.
You might have to go back. Okay, maybe go. Yeah. So you go.
There you go.
I think we're stage. Okay, so stage right. Stage right. Yeah.
Okay, I'll walk away. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, this is looking good. This is looking good.
Yes. Keep going.
All right. Love it. Nice.
That's awesome.
All right. All right. Let's find our way back to our seats.
Did you guys figure it out? Good. I know it's a little more awkward. But that happens to later in life, so it's adjusting.
They're still going. They're like, no, we want more. Awesome.
Did everybody successfully undo their knot? Yeah, everybody? What was your impression of that game? I know some of you are seasoned pros, all right, I know it was really easy, but for the ones that maybe hadn't tried this before or found it a little bit more challenging, what did you think of that game? I'm going to put you on the spot because I heard you say you're really excited and you wanted to make it work. So what was the toughest part about that?
I lost my voice. I'm sorry. I honestly have no idea. It was just kind of like having to figure it out on the spot. Just like all of a sudden have to work with each other and just like move around and have to incorporate a whole bunch of new things. It was difficult, but I don't know, honestly.
But you found the answer. Anybody else?
I think it was important to have someone lead and then the others follow and offer advice. It was just made it a lot more clear. Yeah.
So leadership.
Can you all hear
right?
back there? Okay. No. So speak. Okay. What were some of the takeaways that you felt from this game? Was it enjoyable? Yeah. So it was fun. How did you feel about actually standing up and getting moving? Yeah, Stephanie liked that one. All right. One of the things that I noticed was some people talking a little bit more, maybe giving a little bit more direction. What were some of, now obviously this whole session is about sports leadership, right? So in the context of leadership and thinking about this game, could be a little bit of a silly game, right? But thinking of that context in sports leadership, how is this game applicable and what type of lessons can we extract from a leadership context?
Thank you. So I think in this game, you definitely need a leader, but at the same time, everyone collaborates. And then sometimes the leadership, whoever that person is, that'll change as like someone else has a different perspective and how to, I guess switch positions or, be more efficient in the game. I think that applies to business and too, because one person may be a leader, but then different perspectives can help get the goal done either way.
Awesome. So one person leading, other people following, collaboration. What else? You can hold on to your mic. Pass that
down. Do I have to introduce myself?
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm Janelli. I think communication played a big role because you have to talk to each other, like say, all right, you have to go this way, you have to go that way, you have to go under or over, just so you can get there faster since everyone's listening and one person or two people are talking.
Communication is key. Did you have something? Okay. I have one, Ange.
I think it was also a lot about trusting what your leader was saying. So every move we made or every suggestion she made, we made sure that we trusted it. We thought it was the right move also. So again, going off of like collaborating.
So communication, trust are two things that I just heard that are obviously extremely important. Anybody else have a different viewpoint?
I feel like if you couldn't get it the first time, it's okay to start over and try it again because we were getting frustrated. And if you just clear your head, start over, try it again, and we got it on the first shot.
So a little bit of patience also.
A sense of awareness is important.
How so?
A sense of awareness in a way like you have to know what's going on, and you have to, which goes hand in hand with communication and everything that everyone else says. But I feel like a sense of awareness and like actually knowing what's going on is important.
Like keeping things simple and not overcomplicating.
Simple is always better.
There was one group, I'm not going to try and pick on them, so I'm going to just kind of look generally in this crowd. But one group that I saw pretty much was still working on their first attempt of untangling, while other groups had actually done this maybe 2 or 3 times. For that group, if someone would like to speak on that, what were the emotions and the thoughts going into that, where you're being surrounded by other people basically succeeding at this game while you were still trying to figure it out? Anybody want to speak on that? Or someone else imagining what that could be like?
I think it was frustrating at first, but I think at the same time, like we weren't finishing the game, but like we were trying to focus on what we were doing rather than like how other groups were finishing before us.
Yeah, I also think it gave us some motivation to want to succeed, so we clearly saw that it was possible and that, if we kept working together, I think that if we had had a few more minutes, maybe we would have gotten there. But I also think, like, looking around, we could try other things. Like, some groups were going over, which we hadn't really done, and so, like, adapting other groups' strategies was also something we could do.
I think in this situation, it's not a bad idea to just start over. Sometimes it's just good to start over, figure out what went wrong, and then give it a fresh start, give it a new vision. So I think that's something we could have done, which we did not, but hopefully next time we try it at least. So it's a good thing.
There's always time after the panel we can try it again.
But I love what you just said, because I think obviously we're competitive, right? We're athletes, we're competitive, we have this mindset, and a lot of times we want to just keep pushing through, right? Where sometimes the best thing to do is just to take a breath, stop, see, reevaluate, and perhaps it's actually starting over, maybe even taking a different direction, a different path, right?
So maybe what are your all's definitions of what leadership is? What does leadership mean to you?
Yeah.
I think leadership embodies two things. One is being a better listener than, like, I guess, dictating. And then the second one is empowerment, so empowering the people around you to, you know, contribute to the one goal that you all may have.
Love that. Here and then there.
For me, leadership is someone who's willing to get their hands dirty, not someone who, like, dictates, but someone who will do it with everyone else.
My definition of leadership is someone who has a voice, who basically is the voice of everyone else. So they take everyone's opinion, everyone's perspective, and they ultimately evaluate it based on what everyone agrees on.
Interesting. Yeah.
I think a leader is someone who can practice what they preach, being a good example.
I don't think you always have to have a voice and be the loudest person. I think you can show by example also. I've had a lot of different leaders throughout my soccer playing career, and I've had vocal ones and I've had ones that I've showed by example. So all different examples.
And I think everything that you all have mentioned, right, when we look at that human not game, one of the other things that I saw was a group had finished and another group was still kind of struggling through it. And someone from the group who had finished started actually helping the other group, right? Giving advice, giving some of the success that they had to try and help this other group. So everything that you all have just mentioned, the extraction from the human not game, the definitions of leadership, right? All of these things we can literally learn through sports and actually be trained to become good leaders. And it's something that's really transferable to all other aspects of our life. So I love the examples and what Heather just said, and even what Julie Foudy mentioned this morning, right? There are different styles of leadership. And so what type of leader are you? Because I believe every single person in this room at least has the capacity to be a good leader, if not already a good leader. And when we look at the definition of leadership, it's the process where an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. Can everyone resonate with that definition? It almost encompasses a lot of what you've already mentioned, right?
And I like what you said. You said to, empower women. And I think girls compete, but women empower. And that's something I think that we have to work together. We're seeing that movement right now, is women coming together and empowering one another for the greater good.
And I think that's key, obviously, when you're involved in team sports. There are other elements of how you yourself are displaying leadership qualities. And what are those characteristics and what are those qualities? But how are you empowering other people around you? How are you lifting others up? And I think that's the type of leadership that we're all trying to aspire to. So when we're looking at the leadership qualities, these are the ones that Heather and I think are some of the important ones. So leading by example and always striving to do our best. I think that's something that resonates a lot with how Heather and I have performed, not just on the soccer field and in sports, but also after sports as well. So you can see the recognition of team needs, helping the team set goals, not afraid to speak her mind. Heath?
And keeping the team in line on and off the field. It's not only what happens out there on the soccer field. I think off the field is also really important, especially when you're in college. There's a lot that goes on off the field, so you have to be responsible. You have to think about your team first. You also have to be selfless, strong, focus on your academics, because if you don't focus on your academics, that's really what you're there for. the majority of us aren't going to continue playing professional sports past college, so you might as well take advantage of the academics that you're being taught at, and you have to be eligible in order to perform on the field. Appropriate behavior and conduct, and you're motivating others as well.
And then some of the other key qualities we feel are important when we're really trying to define, okay, what does an exceptional leader look like? Hardworking, respectful, dependable, positive, right? That's a huge thing, right? No one's going to want to follow someone who's a negative leader. Honest, that goes to and speaks to relationship building. Dedicated, inspiring, a good communicator and good listener. I know someone said someone who's able to listen just as much as lead and direct. And there's, I think, a little bit difference between hearing someone and actually listening. So really understanding what they're talking about and where they're coming from, and not just what they're saying. And then enthusiastic, right? I think that's something that everyone can get behind, a positive, enthusiastic leader. Anything else you wanted to say on that?
No, and just to focus on, I think, the honest, being able to, I think, trust is so important, especially for females. So having someone that you can share your thoughts with, your feelings, and know that they're going to respect that and keep that to themselves and really honor your feelings so that you can trust them. I think that's really important for women.
Anything on this list that we're not seeing that's not up here that you'd like to add? Question, okay. So the question was, what leadership quality should someone have? Okay, perfect. What leadership quality should someone have when they're faced with some type of failure or disappointment? Should they turn and talk to others, or how should they kind of respond to that? Do you want to go for it?
Yeah, and I think you become successful through those failures, and that actually makes you stronger. You being able to find that ability to get back up, I think you will find success that way. But if you need to have your teammates around you, if you need to have someone that's going to give you that motivation and that support, then that just helps to make you a better unit and a better team.
And resiliency, right? That's what Heather's talking about. That's the word to use for that. And everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. And I think there's strength in seeing someone's weaknesses and seeing someone vulnerable. I know that is actually an incredible time to build relationships, to gain trust. Saying, I don't know this, or I messed up. I think those are huge qualities for leaders to have, and being able to say, I don't know how to do this, I'm turning to you, can you help me solve this? So that's the collaboration component too.
Thanks.
Any other questions or things that they feel? I mean, there obviously can be a lot more qualities on here, but any other prime ones that you think should be on this list that aren't? All right, so what we want to do next is just kind of go into a little bit of our personal and individual stories about leadership and sports and where we've come from and some of the lessons that we've learned through it. I did a TEDx talk a couple of years ago on the power of introverted leadership. And if you have not done a TED or TEDx talk, I would encourage you to. It's unlike any other experience that you will ever go through, especially when it comes to public speaking. They actually set you up with a coach, a speaking coach. And I liken it to going to therapy every week with this speaking coach, because she was trying to extract different components of the speech. But having that opportunity, I learned a lot about myself, even more, about leadership. It's something that I've been spending a lot of time after I retired from soccer back in 2009, really teaching youth about life skills through sports and leadership lessons. And one of the things that I've learned is that my leadership has evolved. I think leadership is actually a skill that you develop. So you've heard of like natural born leaders, right? I don't think we're necessarily all born to be leaders. I think it's something that we all actually have this unique ability to develop. And I've developed this skill over the years, and I'm still developing my leadership skills. And my style is definitely, I mean, I love that we have Julie Foudy here in the house and Christine Lilly. These were the players that I looked up to, I believe Heather looked up to before we started playing with the national team. And these were our leaders. These were our role models and examples of what a great leader should look like. And I'm not like a Julie Foudy. She's someone that I admire and I actually learn a lot from as a leader, but I'm kind of the opposite in terms of how my leadership style is. I am a 70% introverted person, 30% extroverted, and so my style is definitely a lot more lead by example. It's not the vocal leader, but it's the person that might talk to someone one-on-one and influence that way. And so what I've also noticed is that when I started out in junior high and high school, I was captain of my varsity team, became a captain of my collegiate team, and then when I started playing professionally and also on the national team, there were lots of leaders. There were a lot of people doing amazing things, not just in terms of their performance on the field, but how they influenced the team and how they built team culture. And because I was in a different environment and there were different personalities, my role on the team changed from being a high school player to a collegiate to a professional. And so there's also how you actually fit into a certain environment and how your leadership style is displayed. But as I started gaining more confidence in myself, I realized I actually was a little bit more vocal and I could speak up more and I had the confidence to actually trust in myself and my beliefs and how I could actually positively influence others. And so one of the things I like to say is that if you're someone who's quieter, you can still be a leader, right? Especially when I talk to really young girls, I think there's a stage right before the teenage years where you're trying to build a little bit more self-esteem and self-confidence. And people think that because they're not necessarily the loudest or the most vocal, that they don't have anything to contribute. And that's absolutely not the case. There's so many different styles of leadership. And I think by practicing and really honing in and developing your leadership skills, you'll start to understand what resonates with you and what ways you can be the most impactful. But also understanding that in a different environment, you actually might be called to do different things. And so 2008, the Olympics, Beijing, China, I had been a midfielder pretty much my entire professional career. We are playing Brazil in our last friendly, literally the day before, or the morning before we're flying out to China to compete in the Olympics. And Abby Wambach goes into a tackle with the Brazilian defender. Can't remember who it was, but she breaks her leg. So Abby, our vocal leader, right, our powerhouse, our goal scorer, kind of that person, our heart and soul of the team, breaks her leg and cannot compete in the Olympics with us. So we had to shift a lot of different things at that time. I was actually then flying over on the flight where Pia Sundhage, our coach at the time, comes up to me and says, "We're actually going to ask you to become a forward." I had been on the bench for pretty much the entire year. I was getting some playing time, but was a bench player, so reserve, and then being asked to start as a forward in a completely different position in the 2008 Olympics. And so my role changed. I was being called and asked to not just perform in a different way on the field, but also perform as a different leader. And I think what was really important and what helped me be successful, and ultimately what helped the team be successful, is that we didn't try to be anyone other than ourselves. If I had tried to be a leader like Abby, I most likely would have failed. I'm not an Abby Wambach. She has her own set of unique, amazing abilities and skills, and that's not me. And if I had tried to perform or be like Abby, clearly the height difference was a factor. I could not head like Abby. But if I tried to lead like Abby, I would have failed. I had to stay in my lane and do what I felt was comfortable and what I was comfortable with in terms of my own abilities and qualities. And so for each of you, you are all here on this earth, I believe, for you being you. And once you are comfortable completely being yourself and okay with that, no matter what it is, I think that's where you really tap into the ultimate qualities of your leadership and being able to really impact and influence others in a positive way. So that's a little bit about my story, and I'm very excited because I've learned some things from the sports field and have now been able to team up with one of my friends and teammates, former teammates, in a business venture. And so Heather and I have started Series Platinum Group, a company which actually helps female athletes and executives in their career and sports transition. So being able to actually apply these things that I've been trained to do as an athlete into the business world and do it with a friend is something that's, I think, very special. And hopefully, I know Heather's going to speak a little bit about that more, but I think it's a unique opportunity we all have being involved in sports.
And Ange was a rock star in 2008, by the way, you guys. A large part of why we won that Olympic gold medal. Having an opportunity to come here and talk about leadership, is so nice for me to be able to reflect because I've had a lot of great leaders throughout my career. And as Ange had mentioned, Julie Foudy, Christine Lilly, Christy Rampone, all lead in different ways. But the one that really kind of stuck out to me was in college. Based on, I think, the age more than anything, and being that mature to be able to step into the situation and have the knowledge and the hindsight to change a culture. My freshman year, it was the second year of the program at University of Florida, and so we were a very young team. We had a successful first season, and we won the SEC, but then we would go and play in the NCAA tournament, and we got spanked by UNC 9-1. And that was a very demoralizing way to end your season. Just realizing that you think you're pretty good by winning the SEC, but then you realize how far you really need to come in order to be the best. What would happen the next year, my sophomore season, we would luckily get a transfer. She would just happen to be the leading goal scorer in the country by the name of Danielle Fotopoulos. And we came in that very first day of preseason, and we had a team meeting. She said, all right, things are going to change. Here's what's going to happen. And so she said, every Tuesday, we have the hardest practice of the week. We're all going to go out later that night. We're going to have team bonding. And, you don't have a choice. Everybody needs to be there, but everybody loved to be there. And the biggest difference from my sophomore year to my freshman year was that we just kind of coasted my freshman year. We were all athletic. We were good. We were winning the SEC. But I hung out with my freshman class. That's it. Sophomores hung out together. Juniors hung out together. Seniors hung out together. We didn't really become close as a team. And so the biggest difference that I was seeing is that we were becoming friends, not only on the field but off the field, and that actually made me want to play harder for my teammates. And so my sophomore season, Danielle would come in, we'd win the SEC tournament again, and we would go and make it to the NCAA tournament, and we would play UNC again, and this time we lost 5-1. And once again, a hard way to end your season, but Danielle made us aware of, yeah, it's not fun to lose to a team 5-1, but we went from 9-1 to 5-1. And yeah, we need to work harder. Next season, my junior year, yeah, it helps to get the #1 high school athlete. You guys might have heard of her. We've mentioned her a couple times today, Abby Wambach, to show up to your school to kind of change things. But that year, we ended up losing 2-1 against UNC in the regular season. And then we would have another crack at them in the national championship game. Now, we had a free kick, and Danielle Fotopoulos, who didn't typically take those because she would sky them over the top of the goal, stepped up and said, I'm feeling this, I want to take it. And so the player that usually takes it looked in her eye. She could tell. She's like, all right, I'm going to let Danielle take this kick. That ended up being the game winner. We ended up winning that game. So I'm not sitting here telling you because we went from 9-1, 5-1, 2-1 to winning the national championship that I look at Danielle Fotopoulos as the greatest leader for that reason. I look at it more so of the fact that she came in my sophomore year, she changed our culture. She made us closer teammates that put us in situations that we wouldn't normally put ourselves in, where we're having to go and we're hanging out off the field and getting to know one another. And even if you're a freshman, you're a senior, you're hanging out. And I think for women especially, that bond that you have, you want to play more for someone if you're closer off the field. And that's what we saw. We also were starting to see players do more work, stay after and do extra. You know, you weren't just doing the average stuff to get by, you were working a little bit harder because you wanted to be the best. And even though we started at 9-1 and we ended at winning the national championship, you know, she also planted that seed for us. You know, after losing 9-1, you're thinking there's no way in heck I have a chance of ever beating UNC, the best team in the country that's won numerous national championships. But yes, you have to start somewhere and you have to aim big and you have to set your goals high. And then you have attainable goals that allow you to get to that ultimate goal. So I'm so appreciative of just her vision to be able to come and to be able to experience that at such a young age, being in college. Hopefully you guys can do the same thing. You know, leadership for me is when women, you know, they struggle at something's not out there. As Ange and I both did when we retired, we struggled. We didn't have something in place for us to transition from the playing field into what was next. And so what we did is we went and we created it. And I think that's leadership also, is just allowing there to be that ability to have other women that come behind you to have success. It's been an honor to talk to you guys today, and if you have any questions, I know we have a couple. We have no minute. Okay. All right, so all your questions, save them. We would love to answer them. And even if we don't get to them in the panel, please come ask Ange and I afterwards. So thank you guys.
Thank you, everyone.